All right, family. All right, family. This is a new segment. This is a new segment here. And this new segment is called Let Us Build an Intentional Black Community. That's right.
That's right.
Let us build an intentional Black conscious community. That is what this particular section is going to be called. This is a brand new show. We're only going to do this one bi-weekly. This is only going to be one that we do bi-weekly, but we wanted to start out today with a very, very important subject. And that subject is going to be called, Are We Being Socially Engineered? Socially engineered for destruction, and what to do about it, and basically the type of community we should want. All right. So that's going to be the topic, but we're going to start this one like we did the other ones. We're going to start with our theme music. And while we're playing the little music, we're going to give some shout outs today. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right, family. Thank you all for tuning in today. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you being here with us. This is going to be a very powerful show today, because we're going to deal with the reality of, are we being socially engineered for destruction as Black people? But before we get into our conversation, we want to do some shout outs this morning. All right. So we want to do a big shout out to our brother Ernest J. Muhammad, Ernest Kareem Muhammad. All right. Our dear brother has 3 books that he recently published. One of those books is called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Bible. You can pick that up at messagetotheblackman.com. Messagetotheblackman.com. The second book is God is a Man. God is a Man. Powerful study. A powerful study full of scriptural references, both of these, full of scriptural references that'll make you look and understand the reality of God from both Bible and Holy Quran. You can again pick those up at messagetotheblackman.com. And lastly, this one, The Grafted Bloodshedder. This is a powerful documentation of our history with a lot of interactive scans in the inside, where it takes you to websites and videos in it, where you can actually go in there, look in there, see what he's talking about the 100+ years of lynchings and the many things that we went through in slavery. This is a very, very powerful book. Again, you can pick this up at messagetotheblackman.com. Thank you so much, Brother Ernest, for blessing us with these books. So like we said, go to messagetotheblackman.com and you can pick up those 3 powerful books.
Can I just say one thing, though?
Go ahead.
I'll probably make comments on all of these, but Brother Kareem has been a dedicated soldier for over 30 years that I personally know of. I've been knowing him for a very long time as a member in the Nation of Islam, but just always been a good brother. You know, he's been a good brother to me and to so many people. And his writing and the way that he writes the books, he has so many. It has more than that. He even has a crossword that talks about the Nation of Islam and just different quizzes inside of there to keep you aware, keep you knowledgeable about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But even if you're not, if you want to understand the Bible, if you want to understand Jesus, he has done an excellent job of making it very simple and very user-friendly with references to the Bible and the Quran, and just really laying it out. But overall, the brother is such a good brother, and I am truly grateful to my brother for his work. And, you all please check out his website and see what he has. We want to support Black businesses. Good Black businesses. There's a lot of stuff out there right now with everybody wanting to get into business, and we're going to talk about it. But this brother's doing an excellent job. And you want me to introduce the next one?
Yes, you can. And again, you pick those up at messagetothe.blackman.com. Messagetothe.blackman.com. All right? Messagetothe.blackman.com.
Right, and he's going to put it in the...
I will put it in the chat as well.
All right. So while he is doing that, I'm going to talk about some products that we recently purchased. And we purchased them because we love these people. This one is from my beloved sister Alice V. Muhammad in Chicago. And she is a Mary Kay representative. And again, beautiful, beautiful sister. I have probably known Sister Alice for about 20, 25 years. Not trying to, tell nobody how old we are around here. But we came in when we were really, really young. That's what happened. And if you look at her, I mean, she's just really such a beautiful human being internally and externally. We bought the charcoal mask, which this afternoon I will be getting a facial. My husband will be getting a facial, and Jameen, my son, will be getting a facial as well. And not only did we get this jewel right here, which we know the charcoal is really good for pulling toxins and everything out of the body, but it actually came with a beautiful towel as well. Let them get a little closer. All right. Yeah, I know. Okay, so the eyelashes might be more for me, of course. Yes. So that was an awesome gift or purchase that we made from a Black woman who is in business to help us to not only be beautiful, the type of person she is, she wants us to be beautiful internally as well as externally. So just a very beautiful sister, and I love what she's doing with her business. She's been promoting it more and more on Facebook. So if you want to, you've been looking for a Mary Kay representative, it's Alice V as in Victorious Muhammad. Okay? And then the third purchase or the third business that we are representing is a sister, again, out of Chicago. Y'all know Chicago is our hometown. Sister Jeanette actually does shea butter. Whipped shea butter. And I haven't even taken it out of the container yet.
Look how beautiful that packaging is right there. This is lemongrass. And it says on here, if you can see that, just for you. She's using all natural ingredients. She's using pink Himalayan sea salt, Epsom salt, deep sea salt, baking soda, crushed herbal flowers, natural herbs, and essential oil.
All right.
In that, all right?
And she has a whole line. She has more. And she also sent me a free sample
of bath salt.
Yes. And Sister Jeanette, forgive me because I'm trying to remember the name of the company itself. But what I'll do is I'll drop the your contact information in the chat.
Paisley, Nepal.
Okay,
I
so
believe it's Paige
she did some real
Latal.
fancy, cute writing.
Yeah, but she
And
sent a special thank you
she
card.
did. And her packaging is really, really beautiful. It was a lot of love and a lot of care put in this. And just a quick note, I'm frugal, and the post office makes me mad with how much they charge. So I told her, just give it as a gift. You know, I'll pay for the product. Just give it as a gift. But her heart was like, no, Sister Natalie, I want you to have it. So she sent it to me and took care of the shipping. And I thought that was so beautiful for her to do that because I was being cheap. But I know the post office charge what they charge you all. We just got to pay for the shipping. You know, at least now they're not going to cut the service, what I read with the post office. They're supposed to finance it. So anyway, we're in business and we have to use the United States Post Office. So I have to get over being so frugal and cheap and just go ahead and pay the shipping. Okay. And so, you know, we're going to have to do that in the world that we're in order to support one another. So I just wanted to, we wanted to shout those businesses out because they are doing a great job and they're trying to bring us the best, high quality. And that's what we will always represent on our platform is quality products by people who believe in Black excellence. If you raunchy, I'm not selling your stuff. And, you know, we're not going to do that. We only going to sell Black excellence around here. Okay? So we're going to get into this show, which is really deep. And I'm going to let my husband go ahead.
All right, fam. And once again, as always, want to promote the final call. Right now, of course, you cannot get the digital copy, but you will be able to very, very soon. But in the meantime, you can go to finalcalldigital.com, finalcalldigital.com, and get your subscription where you can read it on your tablet, your phone. Take it with you. News you can use, things that could transform your life. So Final Call, get your Final Call. A powerful newspaper, life-changing, life-saving. How do I know that? Because it changed my life almost 30 years ago.
That's right.
All right, so that's how I know that the Final Call can transform your life because all I read was the back page of the Final Call, and it began me on my journey to transform from being trying to be a gangbanger and a knucklehead to wanting to be an upright, upstanding Black man.
Right.
All right. So get your Final Call, okay? Get your Final Call. Also, if you're looking for the latest lectures by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and in the hour like this, we all need divine guidance, wisdom, and understanding. And you can do that at store.finalcall.com, store.finalcall.com. And we also invite you to our weekly meetings, okay? Those meetings are on Sunday at 10 a.m. live on www.noi.org. Also, again, on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. live on noi.org. And lastly, on Friday on www.noi.org at 7:30. So that's 7:30 on Wednesday, 7:30 on Friday, and 10 a.m. on Sunday. You definitely don't want to miss part 2. Now, Brother Ishmael speaking about the war on Black youth. The war on Black youth. You don't want to miss part 2 coming up tomorrow. So if you didn't hear part 1, go back and hear it. But we're going to play some of it to lay the base of our conversation today, okay?
Right.
All right, so fam, we thank you, and we definitely want you to support us, and you can do that at www.etsy.com/shop/Nafeezah, Nafeezah, Ali. That's right. That's etsy.com/shop/Nafeezah Ali. It is scrolling across the screen
There you go.
on there, but we just wanted to do that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and stop this music right now.
Because it's time
Because
to dig
it's
in.
time to dig in.
It's time to deal,
Time
guys.
to get busy. So we're going to lay the base for our conversation today. We're going to come back to this video a couple of times to get our talk points, okay? And we're going to allow you to hear what we're hearing, okay? Because I'm going to first lay this base really quickly so that we can get a context of what we're talking about, all right?
Okay.
Are we being socially engineered for destruction? That means, are they using social policies, political policies? Are they using the movie screen, the magazines, even the educational books that we read in schools to put us in a position where we end up in utter ruin and destruction? And what can we do about that, and the type of communities that we should want, okay? You can look that word up, social engineering. I gave you the gist of it, but you can look it up to get deeper into that context, okay? All right. So like we said, we want to jump in with Brother Ishmael. And the beginning of this is where our brother is going to be talking about how different presidents were involved in this social engineering plan for our destruction. The things that they did, the things that they said, and we're going to bring, of course, the actual proofs, and you can go get those proofs beautifully. We do this now. www.noi.org/doc, D-O-C. And you can pull up all the articles that they're going to mention from last week and previous weeks as well, okay? So we're going to start with our brother, and then we'll come back and jump into this conversation, all right?
President Richard Nixon said that the greatest threat to democracy and the Western world was not communism, but fundamentalist Islam. And look at what his chief of staff, John Eccleston, wrote. He said the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies: the anti-war left and black people. Did you hear what I said? Anti-war left and black people, two enemies. We have never been your enemy, but now we're labeled an enemy. He goes on to say, you understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it legal to be either against the war or black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them day and night, night after night on the evening news. Look at this. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. We're dealing with liars and deceivers. There were 7 Islamic nations that were targeted by these administrations, particularly after the attack of 9/11. In General Wesley Clark's interview with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now! On October the 3rd, 2007, in that interview, General Clark talked about his meeting within the Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz, and how he went to the Pentagon and met with them. Listen to his words. We've made the decision we're going to war with Iraq. This was on or about the 20th of September. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. General Clark, in his interview, further said, so I came back to see him a few weeks later. And by that time, we were bombing Afghanistan. This is 2001. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He reached over on his desk. He picked up a piece of paper and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office. He said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. Well, they are still in a war with Syria. Lebanon is in chaos. Libya is a failed state. Somalia is in ruins. Sudan is in upheaval. And they've been targeting Iran. And then he asked, is it classified? He said, yes. So here is the war on 2 fronts. Now let's bring it home. Let's bring it home. See, Satan, we're dealing with Satan. And in that book of Revelations, we see the dragon that attacks and assaults the woman and her seed. And we showed this a couple of weeks ago of how the dragon is depicted in the book of Revelations as standing before a woman that is pregnant and travailing. Bear with me. And out of the mouth of the dragon came a flood to devour the woman and her child as soon as it was born. Dragons spew fire, not water. So this is interesting. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us that the flood that spewed out of the mouth of the dragon represents false propaganda aimed at the woman who represents the servant of God. And she's travailing because she has a nation to deliver. So out of the mouth of the dragon would come lies and false charges. Satan is the dragon. And we also see that the aim of the enemy is always the woman and her seed. Because you build a world through the woman. You build your future through the woman. So Satan in the Bible is introduced in the book of Genesis as a serpent that seduces the woman Eve. But in order for Satan, as the minister has pointed out, or the devil to access the woman, He must first destroy and effectively remove her natural protector, her natural guardian, her natural provider, which is the man. The serpent appeared to the woman, but where was her husband? Adam wasn't around. And Satan always comes behind God, in the absence of God, in the absence of the man. This is Satan's pattern. As long as the man of God is present on his post, as we have in the Nation of Islam in our general orders, we are instructed to walk our post in a perfect manner, keeping always on the alert. So as long as the man is present and walking his post in a perfect manner, then Satan's aim is frustrated. Satan's desire is intercepted by the presence of the man and the presence of God's servant. In the scriptures, we see how whenever the prophets and messengers of God are on the scene, Satan cannot defeat the messenger of God. It's not that Satan does not attack the man of God and do everything in his power to thwart his effort, but it is of very little or non-consequence because God is present in the man. But Satan is so wise.
Now we're going to stop there for just a moment, family, and we will come back to that. But I wanted to stop there because our brother made a very, very important point on two fronts, okay? And then we'll talk a little bit, each of us will talk a bit about it. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then once we do that, we'll move on so we can hear more. Now, he said that the dragon attacked the woman. Now, we're going to look at this thing in modern context. We're going to look at it in modern context because when you're looking at these, and the reason we're going here, because a nation can rise no higher than its woman. So if you destroy the woman mentally, spiritually, morally, then you know what the rest of the nation is going to be like. So in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of everything that's going on, in the midst of all that's happening, in the midst of all the murders, we get the song WAP. We get the song WAP in the midst of all of what is happening with us. We come out and they bring out, the enemy brings out this sister, Cardi B, to be used as a tool.
Right.
To actually help demoralize the woman even more. Now, it's been interesting conversations going around because you hear some women defending that, saying that they feel that that liberates them sexually. Hold on, because I got a clip for you in just a moment. I should have pulled it up earlier, but I got a clip for you in just a moment. I won't play the clip. I'll talk about it.
No, you're talking about the one that the white guy was talking about, Cardi B and the conversation with...
No, we'll come to that. No. If you haven't seen the movie Goodbye to Uncle Tom, you need to go and look at that movie, Goodbye to Uncle Tom. In this particular part, I'm going to put this over what's going on today so that you can actually see the full picture of this. Okay? In the movie Goodbye to Uncle Tom, it is a scene with a young black woman. And the black woman is called to go into the bedroom chamber of the slave master. Now, when she goes into the chamber, the slave master tells her that he couldn't sleep with her because she was a virgin. I'm leading to something. So the woman leaves out of the room, and the mammy, the head slave in the house, says to her, "Did you make it with the master?" She says, "Did you make it with the master?" She says, "No." The master said, "No, he wouldn't do it because I was a virgin." So the woman says, "What in the hell are you doing being a virgin?" So she begins to beat the young girl. And then she goes in and sends the young girl back in there. She sent the young girl back in there with the slave master and made the slave master, and she begged the slave master to have relations with her. See, this is so in other words, the black woman, the head slave of the house, was telling her as a woman that the master should have access to you at all times whenever he feels like it, and it should just be a general rule of thumb. So now we're going to just bring it up to the WAP song, because they did an interview after this. You can look it up. And the young lady who they interviewed was actually in the video. Oh, yeah. And the young lady, besides Cardi B and the Stallion, it was another young lady in there, and the young lady made this statement. She said that she don't want to be, I'm going to keep it clean, okay? You can look it up. She says basically she doesn't want to be morally correct. She wants to be able to have sex whenever she get ready to. And then she comes behind that and she says, to hell with moral women. Wow. And she said, to hell with more women. Now, I'm leaving it off here because I definitely want my beautiful wife to chime in on this.
Right. Oh, family, why is this even important to discuss? You know, especially in the topic that we're talking about is building an intentional, conscious community. The reason it's important is two reasons that I'm going to point out. The first one is after she did all of this, the running Democratic president hopeful Joe Biden actually interviewed and had a conversation with Cardi B, who at that point put on a nice little suit and was looking like a dignified woman, standing there or sitting there talking with Joe Biden, right? They having this conversation and she's like, yes, I'm a mother now and I have to change my thoughts on things. But yet she just made the video. Her child is still can't be no more than 4 or 5 years old, right? So Joe Biden is saying that Cardi B should be the example of a black woman. This is why we have to have this conversation, because that is not the example of God's black woman. And nor should it be for any black woman on this planet to parade herself around in such a manner that not only degrades her, but it brings down generation after generation. We can't build an intentional, conscious community with that kind of behavior. I love my sister because she is my sister. But it is my job to point out wrong when wrong is wrong.
Come on now.
And that right there, that was just nasty. I'm sorry. It was just nasty. And if you haven't seen it, don't see it, because it's just nasty. You know? And so the fact that Joe Biden had a so-called intelligent conversation and say that she is the example of a black woman, and even said, oh, my daughter loves your music. Now, his daughter was probably 40, 50 years old. She can do that. But my daughter can't love that. My nieces and nephews, I don't want them to love that, because I don't want you parading around like that. You are black excellence. You are a woman of God. You are the second self of God, sacred, mother of civilization. Do you know who you are? And so I think my sister don't know who she is. She knows the power of who she is, because she know, and she made a point. And I it's sad, but I gotta agree with her on this point, that people aren't going over to the black conscious rappers and listening to their music and buying their music. No, they're listening to her stuff. They buying her stuff. They making her a millionairist because we listening to crap.
Come on,
you know,
man.
I heard this morning in my beautiful MGT class that shows me how to be a woman of God. And we were reading the minister's words, how we have basically, I'm paraphrasing, this was from the Minister Farrakhan's July 4th lecture, The Criterion, that we have accepted sin and embraced sin to the point that Allah don't even care for us. Why would Allah bless you and cherish you when you are defying the life that He has given to you? You're degrading it when we have that type of behavior. My second point, and family, please, again, feel free to, with your comments, your thoughts, your questions, let's really start building this up to be a real conversation, okay? Where it's not just our side. And I'm gonna let my son speak on it as well. But we really want to talk about it, because this is what we're dealing with in building an intentional community. What are we going to have in our community? What are we planning to accept, and what are we saying we're not going to deal with? And any community that I plan to be in that is intentional, that type of behavior is not acceptable.
Come on now.
Another reason why that behavior is not acceptable. So, and I apologize. I'm going to have to put the link in later, because I don't remember the two Caucasians that had their show, right? So on their show, they were talking about the interview of Cardi B and Joe Biden. And this Caucasian said that Cardi B was a low-life hood rat, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is how we are being portrayed as black women. We have to be offended when we see this, and we need to chide our sister. We can do it in private, or I have to do if the Nation of Islam say if a mistake is made in the public, it's corrected in the public. So to me, she went real public with that. So it has to be corrected. I'm not condemning my sister. I'm condemning the behavior. And the reason I'm condemning the behavior is because now other people around the world that don't know Sister Natalie, they don't know Sister Muhammad in California, don't know Sister Ali in LA. They don't know us, but they see Cardi B out there behaving the way that she's behaving. And so when they step to me, they think they can come to me like I'm that kind of woman. No, I'm not that kind of woman. I'm a God-fearing, upstanding Black woman. I am sacred, and so are you, queens. And we got to know that. We got to feel that. Brothers, you got to help in not buying that kind of music. You got to not go and look at her video 100 times. Because you are also saying that that's okay for your daughter when you are supporting that. Any kind of negative rap. And this show is not about the brothers talking about killing and gang bang. It ain't about that right now, okay? Right now, we're talking about the degrading of the Black woman. When we talk about scandal, where this woman was intelligent, but she was nothing more than a bed warmer for the white man who was the president. And everybody was all excited about that. Whenever we see a Black woman in power, and then she's sexually aggressive, this is supposed to be okay. No, we are not intelligent whores. We are women of God. And I hope that this is very controversial for you if you feel like that is okay. Because I need you to think. I need us to think about what it is that we are doing to ourselves and our future. They already, and I'm not going to talk no long. I'm trying not to talk a long time, but as you can see, Sister Natalie is very passionate about this because I love us as a people. And this is not acceptable for our children, our future. They're already pushing pedophilia on us, homosexuality on us. They're pushing behaviors that is not in accord with Allah. It is not in accord with the God of the universe. He set this universe up to constantly fuel itself on righteousness. And our enemy, the devil, the Satan of our time, is pulling us away from God. And we got to fight like hell, everybody. Brothers and sisters. Everybody on this planet that has the love of God, we have to fight for the kingdom of God. Because we're in trouble if we don't. And we cannot stand by and allow this kind of behavior and not lift up our voices to say we are not going to accept this. And I'm going to hold you accountable as my brother. I'm going to hold you accountable as my sister. And you hold me accountable so that we can create the kingdom of God and that we can have a future for our children that is not based on filth and indecency. So, those are my few words. Know that I love you, and everything that I said was out of love for our people. And I love the babies. I've worked with young girls for a very long time, in Chicago mostly, but even when I went to Belize, there was a young girl who did not know how to read. And I took her in. And I treated her like my daughter because that's how I love. I've adopted, or not adopted, but I was a foster parent for a couple of young ladies. So what I'm saying to you is really coming from my heart. And I want everybody that here's this video, here's our platform today, to really think about what has been said, what Minister Ishmael said, what my husband said, and what my son is going to share. Really think about these words, make your comments, ask your questions. If you disagree, go ahead and put it in. Don't be disrespectful, but just go ahead, put your comments in and say, whatever it is that's on your heart, okay?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I agree with everything that my parents said. The only thing I can really add is that the other part of it is, like my mom was saying, the men I understand that, we all have a biological need, but one thing our Mrs. Farrakhan talked about is you can't let that biological need become a god over you. And
I'm sorry.
sorry, I'm a little blind.
Trying to give him a little light, y'all. Shine a little light on him.
But basically, excuse me, we have to stop letting our sexual desires allow us to take over our own reasonable thought, and stop, justifying in our mind like it's okay, and literally, unfortunate, doing sick stuff like trying to go into your daughter. So that's the one reason you don't actually leave your daughter at home alone with your husband. I mean, even if he's trying to be right, you still have to be careful, because you have to make sure that the nature is under control, and don't be, letting your daughter be undressed. Don't be undressed, so that way that part of him doesn't get activated. Because actually, I know a lot of women say that, and I've heard it over the years. Clothing does not matter. Yes, it does. It matters.
Right.
The more covered you are, the less chances of a man want to come after you like that, because they'll be more interested in your mind and why you look so. Is righteous the word?
Yes.
Yes, you look righteous and upright, instead of looking at your body thinking, oh man, like, and just in an animal state. And also, men too, they shouldn't be wearing just no shirt or tank tops and showing all their muscles off in front of women, and like, oh, that's okay, and then tempting women as well. That's I think that's it for right now.
Yes, sir. I mean, that was an excellent point. Excellent point.
So family, like we were saying, a nation can rise no higher than its woman. Okay? A nation can rise no higher than its woman. So if you bring the woman down, you decimated the nation already. Now, some of you all that are listening, some of you all may be saying, well, you're just hating on her. No, I'm not. We're not hating on her at all. What we're trying to get you to understand is that when you see the Queen of England, when you see that, you never see them project her in that kind of light.
Right, exactly.
You never see her disrobed. You never see her unclothed. Not when she was young, and definitely not now. And there's a reason for that. Because clothing brings about respect. Okay? The Holy Quran talks about clothing. Talking about your clothing. A clothing that you wear, and the spiritual clothing. The clothing is important. It is important. But we wanted to pause right there for a minute just to talk about, see, we got to be on our post. See, because if you are listening to low down, dirty music, and I'm listening to it too, and then your children catch up with it, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this. He said that one rap song is more powerful than 1,000 lectures from any preacher.
Right.
So what did we see? Because we do TikTok a little bit. So after the video, a couple of days after that, young girls on TikTok with their panties and their bra on, playing the song, just to show you how powerful it was, because they turned around and they emulated exactly what it was that they saw on that screen.
Right.
So don't you think, oh, it's just another song. Don't you think? Why do you think they call it a radio program in the first place? A TV program in the first place? Because they're programming your mind with ideas. We're going to go on with a little more, Brother Ishmael, because it's some important parts that he shared that we want you to hear. We're not going to be too long today, but we want to lay the base for this conversation, and we're laying the base for what we're talking about, an intentional Black conscious community.
Right.
Conscious don't necessarily mean I can be in the bed and be conscious. Conscious don't mean woke. Conscious don't mean activated. Conscious don't mean moving, changing things, changing reality. It just means you're aware of something. I'm aware of something. But awareness is good, but doing this is better.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to get back to Brother Ishmael and hear a little bit more, and then we'll come back and talk some more. Again, if you got any questions, any quotes, anything that you want to share, go ahead and do that.
Right.
Since he can't turn the man of God against God or cause him to deviate, he turns his attention to what comes after him. He turns his attention to his helpers, to his followers. He must not only, as we said a couple of weeks ago, destroy the man, but he must destroy the idea so that a generation will not come up after the man, after the prophet, after the messenger of God is off the scene. He always, Satan I'm talking about, always looks to destroy that great leader that we produce, but he's also looking to destroy that generation that would perpetuate the idea that the man brings for their liberation. And so the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he knew that Satan was coming in the straight path that he laid down for his people from Allah. And he said these words, 3 generations from me, you will no longer be of me. He knew that his community would deviate from the path of Allah. So he spoke of one coming in the great Mahdi that would guide the community back to the straight path of Allah. So the enemy right now is sifting the helpers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to see who he can turn. At the same time, he has launched an all-out attack on the Black woman and Black youth.
Right.
The Bible tells us that God never changes. His pattern is the same. His righteousness is unaltered. His holiness is undisturbed by the unholiness in the world. And whenever a people lose their way, and before he punishes the people for their iniquities, he intervenes in their affairs and raises a prophet or a messenger from the pool and the abject of that society, and gives to that servant divine guidance and warning that the people are now under judgment. Now, if God's pattern and nature is unchanging, then the opposite of God, who is Satan, has a pattern of behavior that's consistent with his nature of rebellion and wickedness. So whenever God raises a messenger, Satan is right there on the footsteps of the messenger of God. So that scene in the movie, The Passion of Christ, that the minister mentioned in his July 4th address, Jesus was in the garden, but lurking in the darkness, lurking in the shadows was Satan. Why is Satan there? Satan is looking for any weakness, in the man that he can take advantage of. And he is waiting and looking, since he knows he can't turn the man, then he's waiting for the evil accident of time to visit the servant of God. In the COINTELPRO of the United States, this is clearly seen. J. Edgar Hoover, like Herod and Pharaoh, were looking to prevent the rise of the Messiah, a black Messiah that would unify black people. And like Herod, with the birth of Jesus, and Pharaoh, with the birth of Moses, Hoover was trying to stop and prevent the presence of a black Messiah. Messiah, by definition, means one who is anointed by power, anointed with power by God, given wisdom to deliver the people from the oppressor. The Messiah, with the truth he brings, opens the eyes of the blind. He makes the deaf to hear. He cleanses the lepers. He raises the dead to life by Allah's permission. The Messiah in the Quran is made a messenger to the real children of Israel.
Yeah.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us, it's not the man as much as it is the ideas of that man. So they must not only kill the man, they have to kill his ideas so that a generation won't come up after him fueled by his ideas. We're trying to help you to see the plan of the enemy and why black youth are under assault. This is modern Rome. And the counterintelligence program of the United States government under J. Edgar Hoover has always feared that someone would rise among us and unify black people. And should they go to war with a foreign government, we might join on to that foreign government and come against them. So this is what happened in the time of Jesus, the minister writes. The prophet and Herod the king wanted to kill all boy babies to prevent the Messiah from coming into the world. So today there is a plot against the black male. It's real, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to go through all of the document of the FBI files, but I think that you are familiar with it. But before I move to black youth, under the counterintelligence program, in some of the documents that were declassified, a memorandum written on the Nation of Islam on January 7th, 1969, reveals their plan. They said, quote, "The Nation of Islam appears to be the personal fiefdom of Elijah Muhammad. And when he dies, a power struggle can be expected and the NOI could change direction. We should be prepared for this eventuality. We should plan, how to change the philosophy of the Nation of Islam to one of the strictly religious and self-improvement orientation, deleting the race hatred and separate nationhood aspects." Listen to this. We should plan how to change the philosophy of the NOI to one of the strictly religious. I said that already, right? Mm-hmm. But in this connection, Chicago should consider what counterintelligence action might be needed now or at the time of Elijah Muhammad's death to bring about such a change to the NOI philosophy. They go on to talk about that the alternative to the change of the philosophy is the destruction of the organization itself.
Yes, sir.
We have a
Now we want to stop here for a minute because some of you may be thinking that, okay, well, that what he's talking about is the Nation of Islam. Well, first, 2 points on that. Number one, Islam means it is the nature of God. Everything submits its will to do the will of God. So Islam is the nature of God. And God has declared us all to be members of the Nation of Islam as black people. That's number one. Number two, this philosophical change in the nation didn't only happen in the nation. It happened in the Black Panther Party. It happened in the UNIA. It happened in CORE and SNCC. It happened in all of the major black organizations. They use this format to destroy black leadership and black organizations, even down to the gangs. Even down to the gangs.
Right.
See? So what we're trying to show you in this, even though he mentioned the nation of Islam, this way that he's doing this has been on through every black organization that was around at that time to make sure that there would not be a catalyst that would bring us together, unite us, and bring about the total transformation of our condition.
Right.
And they already know that the youth, black youth, are fearless. They already know that it would be the youth who could usher in the reality of our own nationhood. They already know that. So they want to separate the youth, separate the elders to keep that ideology from us. In the 60s, in the 70s, it used to be said, what time is it?
Right.
They would respond, it's nation time.
That's right.
You don't hear that now.
Yeah.
You don't hear that now because we have adopted the reality that we're all Americans now.
Mm.
See?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give the mic to my wife.
Well, I just wanted to add just a thought that this is why we are fighting for Islam, and we will surely win. This is why we have to raise our voices, family, to share the good news that we have been given by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because if the Most Honorable, they've been trying this against us for a long time. They've been plotting and planning and spending billions of dollars to keep the light away from us so that we could not see who we really are, whose we really are, right? So now that we have been given this knowledge and this wisdom, and as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about separation and how important it is for us to mentally separate from our enemy, but eventually physically separate from our enemy as well to a territory of our own, building that intentional, conscious Black community. We have to fight because they want to separate the youth and the people from Minister Farrakhan. Why? Minister Farrakhan stands for decency. Minister Farrakhan stands for righteousness, right? And so, as good Muslims and good Christians and good Jews and good Hebrews and Hebrew Israelites and those that are in the community, regardless of religion, is striving to live the life that God has given to us. We have to fight for that, right? And we have to fight this battle together. The kingdom of God is going to have a lot of people in it, but it's going to be those that are striving for righteousness. So, as we move forward, of course, I am a Muslim follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I'm going to let you know how I feel because that's what woke me up. That's what gave me life. That's what turned me around from the way that I was living when I was 18, right? Because when I was 18, we didn't have, necessarily the complete nakedness, or porn, which is what they're showing now. But, it was raunchy then, back in the 80s. And that was the life that I was starting to live because that's what I was told. It's time for women to get theirs. It's time for us to, get our money. You can be like a man and do this and do that. And so that was the mind because no light had come in. Of course, my mother taught me to be a decent human being, but it was all these other pressures, peer pressure out there to live a certain kind of life. None of my friends was talking about, girl, be righteous, be holy, strive to be one with God. And this is why nobody was talking to me like that. Nobody was telling me that we were living in a day and a time where God was judging us, right? So my point is that type of behavior will continue if nobody puts a stop to it. If nobody pulls your coattail and say, hey, that's not it. That's not the way. I got a better way. And then I'm going to tell you this, everybody. For me, living a life, striving to be one with God, it brings so much peace and harmony into your life, right? Because when you're living out in them streets, doing all this filthiness, thinking you're empowered, now you're running around, oh, do I have a disease? Oh, am I pregnant by somebody that I don't know who? Because I had a one-night stand. Now what am I going to tell my child who their father is? You coming up with all these STDs. You got people busting your windows out, because you decided you wanted to sleep around with this one and that one and mistreat this woman and that woman. People coming up to your job, getting you fired. See, that kind of life is hell. That's drama. When you live the life that God has given to you, the most drama you're going to get, of course, is from your enemy. He's going to give you flack. But when Allah got your heart and you are one with him, none of that matters. Minister Farrakhan said that this devil don't bother him. Don't bother him at all. And they talk bad, mad, crazy stuff about Minister Farrakhan. So I don't want to get off my point. My point, because I get so, caught up in all that, is going on. But building an intentional community, we got to start first. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
That's right.
We have to change our mind on where we're going and what we're doing. And if it's not about Black excellence and the kingdom of God, those type of communities I don't want to be in. I only want to be in the ones that are Black excellence and building the kingdom of God. And there's a lot of variations and there's a lot of room for everybody. But, that type of behavior and killing one another, those things, we got to change our mind, fam, and we got to help others, our other family members who may think that their life is okay, to realize that life is a life of death.
That's right.
There's no life in it. There's no peace. There's no harmony. There's no contentment of mind. And how do you raise children in that kind of environment when you're at war with yourself? Because that behavior is not right.
Right.
So, that's what I want to share on that. Jamie, did you want to share anything else?
No.
Not at this time. Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna go to our last point, fam. We getting ready to close it down in a couple of minutes. I'm gonna get it to the part that I really want us to hear. And think about.
Okay. What you got?
While he was getting some sun, there was a film being shot there where the actor Brock Peters was starring in. And the minister shared with us this exchange that he had with the movie's director, who happened to be Jewish. And the minister shared with us that this Jewish man shared these words with him. He said, Farrakhan, you seem like a nice person. It's not you that we fear, it's your ideas. Listen to what else he said. He said, there's a group of us, either on Fifth Avenue in New York or in Los Angeles, and we discuss trends. And if we see a trend that we disagree with, we utilize our skills, our talents to begin to move the people in a direction that we feel is best. He said there are writers, script writers, book writers, artists, people that influence people. And once they decide on a trend, books will come out. Movies will come out. Plays will come out. Writers in newspapers will write, because the Bible refers to the masses of the people as sheep. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are easily led in the wrong direction, but hard to lead in the right. So Hollywood is not only entertainment, but it's shepherding or guiding or influencing behavior. Mm-hmm. This should help us to further see why they are so upset with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first.
Now, okay.
And what he said is so true. They use movies and video games and everything to program us, because like I wasn't alive during the time of Superfly, the first one came out, but when that came out, they made it popular in that movie for black people, especially black men and women to become gangbangers and go sell drugs and all that. And then you saw an increase in crime and gang membership right after that movie. And then pretty much every movie you watch, unfortunately,
and being pimps too.
And unfortunately, every movie you watch is a violent movie. And like that's why a lot more people are more violent. And you rarely have any peaceful things, or you don't have stories where it's like it might start out as a war, but then it becomes peaceful at the very end because good won over evil, instead of it continuing on forever. They making it, and that's one thing I love, superhero flicks and comic books and all that stuff, and anime too. But it's a recurring theme, like they keep making like evil always is gonna keep coming back, instead of actually allowing it to end and showing that really at some point there will be no more evil.
Right.
And they're programming us like, as my granddaddy say / my mom's dad. What did he say? White people, white men always be on top.
Yeah, he said that.
He said that. And unfortunately, we still believe that the white man still gonna be on top when we see him crashing down right in front of our face.
Right in front of our face.
Mm-hmm.
All of America.
Now, just to bear witness, for those of us who were around I want you to think about the movie Colors. I want you to think about the movie Colors with Sean Penn. Now, a lot of us may not know this, but Colors was actually supposed to be shot in Chicago. Colors was actually supposed to be filmed in Chicago, Illinois. But Mayor Daley Sr. said he didn't want nothing to do with that in Chicago. He said he didn't want nothing to do with that in Chicago. So when the movie Colors came out, in Los Angeles, the violence erupted. Street gangs erupted. The crack epidemic erupted. Right after that movie came out, you saw more. It may have always been there, but you saw more. And if you go back and listen to Rick Ross and them, they'll begin to tell you how they were traversing this country back and forth, hustling dope for the CIA. You didn't hear me. See, so the question is, are we being socially engineered for destruction? See, they telling you and me and us that it's your children that's bringing the drugs in, when all the time the Iran-Contra scandal was financed through something that was made in a lab called crack.
Right.
I want you to hear what I'm saying.
Right.
So they've been socially engineering us for destruction for a long, long time.
Right.
When the Panthers were around, if you remember the movie Panther, near the end of it, the one who Huey P. Newton allowed to be used by the government, he said they about to flood the black community with heroin. That's what they said. They about to flood the black community with heroin. That was then.
Right.
That's in the 60s and the 70s. And the heroin was designed to destabilize the Black Power movement and the Black Power structure in the country. Then in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, here come crack. Huh?
Right.
I don't know how many of you remember, but I remember when crack hit the ghetto. I remember when it hit my neighborhood. I remember how we used to at first play football in the street and Johnny come across and tag and freeze tag and all of that, and went to a state where our parents were saying, don't be out too late now.
Right.
Don't go out too late now. Why? Because we were being socially engineered. We all have watched the cycle of drugs in our community, the big drug dealers, and when they fall, and how most of them either end up in jail or addicted to it themselves, but the communities that were decimated, and it have even been proven, and if you go get Gary Webb's book, come on now, what is the name of it? I believe it's called the CIA Crack Cocaine Conspiracy. You can pull it up on YouTube, but the author name is Gary Webb. And he talks about how they orchestrated crack to come in the ghetto and do exactly what it did. Then Jesse Jackson in the Million Man March, he said that there was a difference in jail time between powdered cocaine and crack cocaine.
Right.
Why? Because the target was black youth, Hispanic youth, poor personally did this.
Right.
But nobody's went to prison. All the documentation is there.
Right.
All of the proof is there. But nobody's been arrested.
Right. And why?
And
Now,
why not?
The reason that no one has been arrested is because they all in on it. You know, and sometimes, fam, we actually, according to our study guides, can participate in a conspiracy without even knowing it. So when you become a drug dealer and you're selling crack on the corner, you're part of the conspiracy now. And so this is why we have to really start thinking about what do we want to see in our intentional Black conscious community. What do we want to see? You know, because it's going to happen. Separation is taking place right now as we speak. God ordained it.
Yes,
you know, if you read the Bible or the Quran, Allah has already said that He separates the wheat from the tare. So there is going to be a separation. So now what we have to do is start looking at what do we want that to look like?
Yes.
You know, what do we want to allow in our community? What are we trying to accomplish in our community, right? So when we lived in Belize, it was a gentleman that we met. What was his name?
Who?
They had the restaurant. They talked about the intentional Black community.
Jama.
Jama, right. So that was the first time that I ever heard about building an intentional Black community where we move in and around one another, right? It's something that can happen right now today. We had a beautiful brother, Brother Marshawn out of Indiana, Gary, Indiana, that talked about buying a school and, you know, changing those rooms into apartments. You know, you already had the community kitchen downstairs. You had a workout room. You had a wood shop, football field. I mean, you could grow food. So we can still do it immediately, you know, if we just start thinking alike with one another, you know, building an intentional community in the midst of all of what is going on and making a safe haven for our children. So we don't have to worry about them going to public schools and being exposed to vaccines and COVID-19 and children with nasty behaviors because their parents are not disciplined or their parents haven't decided, you know, to be one with God and raise their children that way. So we have to start creating an environment where it's not just us. You know, right now we're in Tucson. It's not a lot of Black people in Tucson. We're probably 4% of the population. So we're involved with being Black in Tucson, some, you know, internet communities, but there's no Black community here, right? So we have to say, okay, look, we need to start moving in and around one another until we get those states, until Allah gives us what we ask for. Mm-hmm. And we know Allah is going to give it because, for one, He told His messengers to let everybody know we're going to get it.
That's right.
It's on the back of the Final Call newspaper.
Yes,
and
right.
No matter how long it takes, just rest and be assured. Trust and believe, as Master Ava would say. We're going to have that. So we have to start planning on what that's going to look like, you know, and the type of people that we want to, or the type of behavior, I should say, that we want in our intentional communities.
I just want to say this real fast, and then if Jamie has something to say, as we about to get ready to close it down anyway. Brothers and sisters, Black Wall Street was actually only one town. It was one of the most successful, but it was only one town that we built coming up out of slavery. It was actually over 60 to 80 towns that were actually built, and mostly all of them were decimated. Your Rosewoods, your Black Wall Streets, You had several in Mississippi. You had several in Georgia. So you had it all around. But why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because they didn't have the base of the education that we got. They didn't have the engineering skills that we have. They didn't have the technological skill that we have. They didn't have all the money that we got right now as a collective $1 trillion, 1.5 trillion every year spent with everybody else other than ourselves. The black dollar stays in our community. Mm-hmm. What is it? 60 seconds or 6 minutes?
No.
It's not a day.
No, it's not a day. I think it was 6 hours.
6 hours.
I think it was 6 hours. Yeah.
6 hours. Meaning from the time you get paid to the time 6 hours later, the monies that we've gotten have went into somebody else's hands. And they bank on the reality that we don't put ourselves in business for ourselves. The Koreans bank on it. I'm not being anti-Korean. I'm telling you the fact. The Arabs bank on it. Everybody banks on the reality that in the black community, we're not going to provide the services for ourselves that we need. Mm. We have to change that. Right. This is why the mantra in the Nation of Islam is do for self, but it can't just be a mantra, brothers and sisters. You have to start with the youth, teaching them how to be entrepreneurs, teaching them how to handle money, right, teaching them how to do those things. Mm. Okay? Right. If you don't know how, it's all right. We got several people teaching it. One is the ABS tribe. Our dear brother Jake Taylor Jacobs. He's teaching you about finance, but not only teaching you about finance, this man gets into the reality of you being your own private bank. If you want more information about that, just drop in the chat private banking. If you want more information about that, that's drop in the chat private banking. Right. Combined with what Brother Ben is doing with the ABS Tribe Digital Real Estate, teaching you how to use the internet to make money for your business by doing things like this that you're passionate about, turning your passion into profit, and then teaching you how to use the money that you earn to actually build a real legacy in the future for yourself. Right. Okay? Yes, if you want to know more about those things, again, you can put the word digital in the chat, as well as private banking. You can do that. Our brother was talking about we need to develop jobs that benefit the black family. That is what ABS Tribe is doing. That's what those young brothers are doing, teaching you the power of the internet, teaching you the power of learning finance, teaching you the power of creating your own wealth legacy that we don't have to every generation start over and over and over and over again. Right. Because we didn't make the shifts and the transitions that we needed to put our children in a better state than we was in. Right. See, family, it's like my wife said, it's the renewing of our minds. We got to transform the minds, brothers and sisters.
And we can absolutely do this.
We can absolutely do it because God is with us to do it. There's a beautiful chapter in the Message to the Black Man, and it's called The Unity of 20 Million. Okay. If you don't have, Jami, look for that article, please, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and drop it in the chat. Okay. The Unity of 20 Million. Now, we want you to read that so you can see what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said And if you don't have the message to the black man, you need to have it in your house. You need to study it in your house. It's not about you changing your religion. It is about you changing your mind, changing your thinking. This is how a real intentional black community is going to come about, by the renewing of our mind, changing how we think, changing how we eat, changing how we live. We shouldn't want to keep seeing the same thing in our neighborhood. You have been empowered and given the permission to transform the reality that you live in.
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
You got the power to do it. We have the power to do it. But the question is, will we do it?
Before it's too late.
Before it's too late. The enemy is angry, and the enemy is planning our destruction. What are we going to plan?
Right.
We can't sit there and say, well, he's coming and he's going to kill us. No. God said in the scripture, and we're going to end it off. I'm going to leave it with a few closing comments from my wife and my son. God says in the scripture, he says, if we would turn from our wicked way and seek his face, that he would come and turn from heaven and heal our land. We need a healing, brothers and sisters.
Yes.
We need a healing. So I'm going to let them do closing remarks. But remember to tune in for part 2 of the attack on our black youth by Brother Minister Ishmael at 10 a.m. Central Time. That's on www.noi.org. Please tune in. He's going to give us more of that. You just heard bits and pieces of it. We already dropped it in the chat, so you can actually go listen to part 1. But we definitely want you to go check out part 2. So I'm going to give the mic over to them, and we're going to close out. And we thank you all for coming in. We thank you for listening. Again, if you want to know more about the digital real estate, we want you to go ahead and drop the word digital. If you want to know more about the private banking, we want you to drop the word private bank in the chat. It's time to change the reality of how we live, dear brothers and sisters, by knowing what to do in this time, using the internet to empower ourselves in business, using the knowledge of finance to empower ourselves and our families. And we got some courses at the ABS Tribe that can help us all to do that. Okay? All right. So I'm, again, giving the mic over to them, and then we're going to close out.
Well, I completely agree with everything my mom and dad have said. And the only thing I can add really is, testimony. Like, we've really been working on changing our mindset and applying the principles we learned from the ABS Tribe and from the Teaser Muslim Muhammad. And we have really been seeing results on all of our social media platforms by Allah's grace and mercy. And inshallah, we'll continue to keep going, because the one thing that matters when if you're a YouTuber or whatever, is you got to make content that's valuable to people. No, you might not get a whole bunch of views in the beginning, but it's not about the views. It's about the content you put out. And then if people see you actually got valuable content you put out, they'll actually be more likely to come to your stuff. Of course, promote it and boost it and whatever you can do. But you have to put the content out there that God wants you to put out there. And then people will catch on. Right. It's not an instant overnight process, because that's actually been a problem for everybody, to be honest. Like, everybody has wanted instant gratification. You ask, let's say you're praying, you say, Allah, I want, answer this question. And then he might not give it to you right now, but you have to be looking at people and signs from just multiple things. But you have to be patient too. They don't expect it overnight. I mean, occasionally Allah be like, oh, I'll do it overnight. But most times, you don't work like that. It's a riddle and a rhyme. You got to figure it out. And he's like, okay, you'll figure it out. It's going to take you some time. I mean, because I have to admit, if life wasn't a challenge, it would be boring. I mean, if you couldn't didn't have to find out anything, what would be the point? I mean, you knew everything.
No, that wouldn't be nice.
I mean, it really wouldn't. Everybody acted. What this government also wants is for everybody to act the exact same. Could you just think about the movies you've seen with that? That's boring. I don't want to be acting the exact same as the person around the block. That's not even,
Be your unique self.
Yeah, be yourself. And that's my last thing. I mean, basically be yourself, and let go of fear, doubt, or anything that's holding you back.
Right. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. We want to always include our youth in what it is that we do, family. A lot of us are doing some great work, but we send our children to the room and we don't include them in the business, the hard struggles, and the prayers and the concentration and everything that we have to do to build business. We have to talk about building business as we talk about those that are trying to prevent us from moving forward. Because of course, like Brother Ralph said in the comments, that we have to build business and businesses that benefit the Black community. Everything that we need, we already have it. We are making this country rich as we did during slavery. We still making them rich. We still building their roads. We're still, coming up with ideas that they steal. When you go to these jobs now, they have you signing a piece of paper, saying that any ideas that you come up with belong to them. So it's still
tech job.
Yeah, tech in a lot of tech jobs, but in a lot of environments, So everything that we need, we already have. We just have to make up our own damn mind, as the Oracle said, in the Matrix. Well, we just got to make up our own mind, and really decide we want our own community. And we don't have to wait for them to say, oh, we're going to give you some reparations. We're going to give you some money. No, damn it. This is what we want. And this is what you're going to give us because this is what you owe us. Nobody asking for a handout. Nobody begging for nothing. When the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said on the back of the final call that we wanted 20 to 25 years of financial support from America. That ain't begging. That's the least they can do.
That's right.
Minister Farrakhan said, we want 5 to 8 states. It's nothing wrong with asking for, or not asking, but letting them know that we are going to get these 5 to 8 states. Either you're going to do it willingly or you're going to do it under pressure from Allah with these tornadoes and earthquakes and fires and pestilence and all these things that's going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, we got a God on our side. And at the end of the day, everything that we talked about, what Allah said he's going to give to us, that he's giving us our inheritance, his kingdom, his world, it's going to happen. We just have to make up our mind that we're going to walk in there with him. But we can't do it, being other than ourselves. I was going to say something else, but, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say, let's really, fam, think about it for a minute. Even if you agree with the lifestyle of, indecent behavior or, things like that, even if you agree with that, I need you to just think about what we're saying today and what's going on in the world. And either make an agreement, you got to be true to yourself. What side of the fence you on? You can't say that you're a good Muslim and you on Facebook undressing with the name Muhammad. We can't do that. You can't say that you're a Christian and all your cleavage is hanging out when you're talking about God and the Christ. You know, brothers, we can't live that kind of life, and we can't accept that from our female members of the family and sisters. We have to hold our brothers accountable as well. So we got this. We can do this. Success is ours. It's just going to be how many of us going to make it. How many of us going to make it? And I want to be one of those that will make it. So I'm doing everything that I can to share my light that Allah has given to me as a mission to help the people, to help them to see, you know, where they are and where God wants us to be, not where, you know, I want you to be, because it's not about me. You know, I'm striving to be one with the God and give you the guidance that God gave me to give to us, you know, but this is the mission that he put us on as a family. And so, you know, you're going to see us all over Facebook, all over Instagram and everywhere else. If you want to see the funny side of me, I'm on TikTok. So anyway, here I'll be a little bit more serious, but I love you guys. And I just want you to know that if you have any comments, questions, we really love that feedback. We really love interacting, you know, with our brothers and sisters and people around the world, wherever you are. You know, feel free to just join in. And even you can direct message us as well after you see this. If it's, you know, a week later, 3 weeks later, and, you know, you had a thought about it, please feel free to DM us also. And support those businesses that we talked about. I actually had a couple of more. We'll talk about this one soon. I'm not going to give y'all the name, but y'all see that t-shirt? I know y'all MGT loving it. Can y'all see it? I'm kind of twisted over here in our space. But then, of course, you know, the Queen of Rap has those forever bracelets. Okay? You got all the chakras there. Got some crystal. And it's all made with copper. And we can do it all kind of ways for you. So check out our Etsy shop as well. We put all the links in. Again, we love you. And we pray that Allah bless you all to have an awesome rest of your day.
And just one closing thought, two things.
We
ending. We're ending now.
All right, Brother Minister.
Okay. No, we're ending. Look, this is real talk right here. Those of us who have riches, Richard, I believe it was Richard Allen that said this. Richard Wright, sorry. He said that we have three responsibilities. A responsibility to God, a responsibility to our families, and a responsibility to our people. Some of us are billionaires, millionaires. Do you realize that it's only 50 million black people in this country? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Meaning that with $50 million, you could actually change black people's condition overnight. Yes, it's going to take some changing of their minds. Yes, it's going to take some things that need to go on. But if you made a conscious effort that you're going to put your money to help change the condition of our people, all of us have a stake in this, because your daughter got to marry somebody. Your son got to marry somebody. And when they do, you want them to be in a good condition. All of us have a stake in this, especially those of us that are wealthy. Make it, or you should, make it your desire to seek out what you can do to transform the reality of black life in this country. You should really do that. You should do it and put your money behind it. You heard what I said. It's 50 million black people in this country. If you a billionaire, you could give every black person in America $1 million and it wouldn't even hurt your pocket at all.
Right.
You wouldn't even miss it. That's how quickly you could actually change things. And then give them classes like what the brothers are doing in the ABS tribe and the private banking and of course spiritual development and all of those things, and then you'll see a mighty, mighty change. We're not broke. We're divided.
Right.
If you put your money behind us and create institutions and businesses for your people, you could change our condition almost overnight.
That's right.
So, brothers and sisters, we thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in with this first show. Just want to remind you every week on Thursday. Every week is Thinking Thursday. We have 3 shows on that day. One, we start out with Mind Spark Creations LLC at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Then we move on to Love My Kidneys at 10:30 a.m. And then lastly, the Queen of Rap. All are live on Facebook. All of those are live on Facebook. If you would like to follow those pages, please do. Again, Mind Spark Creations LLC, Love My Kidneys, and the Queen of Rap.
That's right.
You can go and follow those pages. You can look at the content that we're trying to put there, trying to really put that valuable content out there for you. We're not just trying to get likes and all of that. We're actually trying to make a change with the internet. Okay?
Yeah,
all right, family. Thank you so much.
Gotta go get my facial done.
All right. Remember, be good to yourself. Be good to one another. If nobody told you, God loves you first and foremost. But we love you too, and there's nothing you can do about it. Be the blessing. Be the blessing. And always let the spark in your mind create a new reality. Thank you so much,
love
family,
you guys,
for tuning in. We love you. We thank you. Have a blessed rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Shalom. Hotep.
Hotep.
Peace.
Hotep. Peace. Abaradari.